Welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 2021 Lamborghini Aventador LP 780-4 Ultimae. So this is the last ever variant of the Aventador, which started its standard production all the way back in February of 2011. 600 of these were produced, 350 of these coupes and 250 of the roadsters, although unfortunately 15 cars did get completely destroyed in a fire and a capsizing of a container ship, so they had to restart production in 2022 to finish off those 15 that had been destroyed. So technically it lasted from 2021 to 2022, but yeah, still, this is the last of the Aventadors, which means, yeah, end of an era, quite frankly, because yeah, this really did pull Lamborghini into the into a more popular frame of mind when it came to making their cars. Now granted, obviously the Murcielago and the Gallardo preceded this, which were also aimed at being more mainstream and more usable on a day-to-day basis than Lamborghinis of old. But the Aventador really did seal the deal, especially when it came to the different variants that you could get. So yeah, this being the last of the Aventadors, this is obviously called the Ultimae, which is basically stands for ultimate. So yeah, Lamborghini themselves do consider this to be the ultimate version of the Aventador, and in some respects it is that kind of thing really, which we'll get onto in a bit. But interior wise, basically the same as usual. A lot of buttons in the center console, not much in the way of creature comforts, but still more than livable with on a day-to-day basis. Still got the scissor doors that were popularized with the Lamborghinis of old. Got minimal practicality, as you'd expect. That's not really a boot, to be honest. You could probably get one bag in there, if that. And yes, still got all-wheel drive, still got rear steering, still got massive amounts of downforce going on, either thanks to the rear diffuser here, or the spoiler that does come up at speed, as we can show now, which all helps keep the car in check. Twin exhausts, and yeah, plenty of air vents, either on the side or on the back haunches of the car. I do like the fact that those are now in place and they're permanently, rather than old Lamborghinis or even previous Lamborghini Aventadors that have had them where they've raised up at a certain amount of speed, or when the engine's got to a certain temperature, and then they lower themselves again once you get up to a certain rate of speed to improve the aerodynamics. I like the fact that they are there permanently. It makes the car look more aggressive and a little bit on the cooler side of things, which is one reason why I think this Lamborghini out of all of the Aventadors is easily one of the best looking ones. It's not my absolute favourite, but it is definitely one of the better ones. And yeah, still got the same 6.5 litre V12 engine underneath, which produces 770 horsepower and 531 pounds-feet of torque. Now that is 30 horsepower more than the SV, which is another variant of the Aventador, and 23 pounds-feet of torque more as well, and that's also 11 horsepower more than the SVJ, which is basically the even more hardcore version of the SV, although granted we do share the same amount of pounds-feet of torque as that SVJ. Although unfortunately this car is not a lightweight by any means, at 3,858 pounds, which means that's 152 more than the SV and 251 pounds more than the SVJ, so it is quite heavy. But despite that, the extra power and the good amount of torque means that this is easily the fastest in terms of acceleration over the prior versions of the Aventador, but the weight would obviously hamper it in terms of handling, braking, and in terms of top speed. But nonetheless, let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. Right, so here we are at the drag strip, so let's see what this car can do before we hit the speed camera, and then we'll get it round the track. So yeah, launches perfectly, all that all-wheel drive system and the launch control working in tandem there to keep the power on the ground and not waste any of it. And that means, yeah, we can properly get up to a high rate of speed in no time at all, nearly 160 miles an hour there, which is not half bad. And yeah, despite the how much it weighs, it really doesn't quite feel that heavy, to be honest. It's much like the Lamborghini Countach, the new version that is based on the Aventador. That weighs even more than this, and that also didn't really feel its weight, but it obviously does feel a little bit heavier than the SV or the SVJ, due to obviously weighing more than both of them, but it does handle its weight nicely. There's plenty of playfulness to the cars, attitude, and yeah, that does mean that it ultimately feels less than it actually is. We're in top end S1 class, as you'd expect for a car like this, and stat wise it's all very good indeed, especially in terms of acceleration, launch and braking. As bad as the braking is as high as that given how much it weighs, but you know, that just shows how good the braking system is on this car. Handling is pretty good, and so is the top speed, but they are definitely the lesser elements of this vehicle, because yeah, you can't really match that acceleration, launch and braking, to be honest. But yeah, in comparison to say the SVJ and the SV, we are definitely down. So where's the SV gone? So yeah, here we go. So 7.9 in terms of handling. Yes, the acceleration, launch are worse, but the braking is also slightly better, and because it has less weight, the top speed is actually better. And you also compare it to the SVJ, again, handling, braking are better, so is top speed, but the acceleration and launch are also worse. So yeah, it's all about whether or not you really want a car that has the ultimate amount of horsepower, is the, you know, the good middle ground between how it looks over the SV to the SVJ. I've never been a massive fan of the way the SVJ looks, just because of those two air vents at the front, which make it look a really bit messy and ugly. But the SV also has some nice parts to it compared to this, so it's all about what you like the most, to be honest. But still, let's hear what this car sounds like, and then we'll talk about it some more. So yeah, as per usual with these naturally aspirated V12s from Lamborghini, sounds absolutely glorious. Revving up all the way to 8,500 RPM, and yeah, just sounds incredible. You don't really want to change up just because you're hearing such an amazing engine. You don't want the noise to stop, quite frankly. But yeah, still, it's, like I said, does not feel its weight when it comes down to the handling, to be honest. It really does feel very, very well sorted. Got some understeer, but nowhere near as much as you'd expect for a car of this weight. Granted, obviously the SV and the SVJ will feel better through the corners ever so slightly, but even though the braking is technically worse when it comes down to the stats, I am not seeing any massive differences really to be concerning. And at the end of the day, it sticks like glue to the road, and yeah, has very little issues in terms of handling. It's also monumentally quick in terms of acceleration. 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds, 0 to 100 in 5.15 seconds, and everyone to a top speed of 203 miles an hour. So yeah, the top speed thereabouts the same as the other cars that I've talked about already from the Aventador lineup, but acceleration is definitely faster. It's 0.1 of a second quicker to 60 than the SVJ. And yeah, it's very nearly a second quicker to 100 as well. So yeah, despite all of that extra weight, the extra power is doing its business, or its job. And yeah, clearly they've sorted out the car in terms of its all-wheel drive system, in terms of getting it off the line, and in terms of the power being delivered as well for the gearbox. Because yeah, that's clearly going to have obviously helped, or should have been done really, to enable this car to be as quick as it is. So yeah, fantastic car all around. Obviously, you know, I could easily be cynical and say there's no real need for another version of the Aventador. We've got several already. Is there any really need to have another one? Maybe not. I personally would have liked a Lamborghini that we've never had in the game before, but then there's also the flip side to the fact that this is the last of the Aventadors. We've had versions of it before, so it is nice to have the final bout from the Aventador after so many years of being a really rather glorious car. And yeah, it is in a lot of ways, like I said, the ultimate version of this car, and Lamborghini at the end of the day I think it is as well. So it's well worth having it included just for those points, to be honest. And yeah, you can get this car by getting 20 points in the festival playlist. Not difficult at all to get those points, and it is a car that is well worth getting because it's huge fun to drive. sounds great, looks great, and yeah, he's just generally a good driver scoring on the whole as well. So yeah, nonetheless, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.